Hey folks, how's it going? Rash here, and welcome back to an episode of Cards and Castles Ranked with Red, where today we are bringing, I believe, the Rakannaroth build inside of Ranked and seeing how it does. I've had this deck for quite a while. I believe we showed it off a few months ago, and I've been meaning to make a Ranked video regarding this deck, but haven't really gotten the opportunity to kind of put it to camera. But today, that changes. We're going to bring you the 5 placement matches for the Rakannaroth deck for the October 2021 season. So, without further ado, folks, let's go ahead and get to match number 1. Alright, folks, and match number 1 sees us taking on Ninja Warlock in the opener here. Now, of course, usually going to be Awakened decks that run these colors, but we are often surprised sometimes, so we'll see what our opponent has in store. We are, of course, take the mulligan opportunity here, get some nice stuff in the hand, including the Mystic Rat package that we, of course, run in this deck, so very lovely start for us. Alongside the Fear and the Faithful Drake here. Our opponent not going to open up with the turn, so, I mean, we aren't either. No reason to coin out into the Drake. We don't really know if it's the Awakened strategy yet, so we don't know if rushing the Drake is going to be more harmful than good. Do see the Sleeping Dojo, though, so that is going to alert us that our opponent is on the Awakened strat. And honestly, this is an okay hand to deal with the Awakened strategy, because you do have the Mystic Rat package able to kind of swarm in, get some damage on maybe some backlined Awakened units if he's hiding them, or if you can reach them around, you can get to the dojo, but, you know, we'll have to get there. We do run into the Fear, however. Not exactly ideal, because of course we can't start putting pressure on face or even get to the dojo this turn. And he's going to start getting some awakened value off of this mischievous imp over here. We could get the Rat King out, but no real way, to reach that mischievous imp at this time. So we're not really going to be able to get the opportunity to, of course, launch into him, or at least trade with that imp, which, you know, it is what it is. We'll let him get some damage off here. I do go with the Rat King play to set up for a Mystic Journey anyways. I'm hoping that maybe he kind of, you know, takes our bluff and ignores the Rat King, thinking the upkeep is going to hurt us. We do have a second one in hand, so hence why I'm being a little more forward with this first Rat King. We do have the backup, and yeah, like we mentioned. We do get burned, unfortunately, for that back rat, but hey, probably a good target to hit, honestly. The 1/1s can soak the damage here, and we can keep a little bit of extra health on our castle. He can trade with the imp if he wants to, but what else does he have to deal with this swarm, this little bit of a swarm that's incoming here now? Unfortunately, we do not have any sort of globals like Temple, Armory, or Smith in the hand at this moment, so we can't really get any sort of extra value from that. We do have some fears to potentially draw us into some of those globals, but right now, not a whole lot of good targets to fear or worthwhile fearing. The imp, the only one if he stays there right now, but of course, that's not going to accomplish too much rather than just, you know, an extra hit on face, unless we pull the Lightning Blade next turn, in which case we L-Blade up, we connect there, we fear, but we actually can't do that as long as the Rat King hit is still on board. So our opponent is kind of going for a bit of a thinker here. He does take a lot of the time here. He ends up going with the Trap, which I thought was very interesting. I don't really see a lot of Awakened decks playing that side Trap option. You know, rather probably have more Awakened stuff here. And of course, because he didn't, or nothing triggered off of the, castle, I assume it has to be a combat trap, and I was right. We do see the Secret Dragon. Of course, it is going to create the Fire Drake, probably one of the worst options for us to peer into right now, just because we have so many small bodies that can easily be burned off with a single explosive shot. And you'll see that's why I'm going to position out the way that I am here. I could get some more damage on castle, but obviously I think the body advantage is too important at this point to allow that to happen, so we are just going to kind of leave that rat up there and hope that a Flamestorm isn't going to come in. If a Flamestorm does come in, it does take out his own dojo, so there is a bit of a trade-off that happens there that I'm not sure that he was willing to take if he had the Flamestorm, that is. But yeah, we're in a fine position, I would say, here. We do get some damage on the dojo. We are pretty much nearly guaranteed to kill it in the next turn. And the only thing that concerns us is just the Fire Drake at the moment because, you know, it's got that explosive. Probably the worst option for us to see in this matchup. But not, you know, too worried about the stance. We do have a lot more bodies than he does on board right now, which is great to see. And, the early advantage on Awaken is an incredible equalizer. If you can really stop their strategy before it pops off, things like knocking off Dojo, forcing the Awaken units to make trades rather than staying alive, all that can add up in your favor when going up against an Awaken strategy. So you'll see here he's forced to use the Masuda on defense here. The Magic Eater coming out as well, going to play more defense. Yeah, not entirely ideal because I think these are things he wanted to save in his back line to kind of make bigger. And of course, the Blacksmith is an amazing pull for us this turn here. It is going to provide a lot of stuff on this board. Now, because I noticed that he is weaker in cards than us in hand, we are going to make a bunch more trades here than I think I normally would. Things like you see there, the Eater into the Rat into the Dojo, taking it out over, dealing damage to Castle. Even Rat King going to trade with the Masuda down here as well, just to kind of put him off anything early. Even going for the Fire Drake, which I think maybe might not have been a good idea. I think we probably could have taken maybe 2 damage on the Fire Drake and then hit 2 to face, but I figured we could take it out. Let's go ahead and take it out here to kind of just solidify the fact that we have the body advantage over our opponent. And of course, it is turn 6 here. Opposite Blue Firebolt the Smith, which is a fine play, to be honest. You want me to cut off the globals, especially seeing Mystic Rats in the deck makes sense. We don't really have much of a follow-up, to be honest. We do go for the Fire Drake here fairly aggressively, as you'll see, just because there's really not much else in my hand worth doing. No targets to fear, nothing to pillar. Rat King would be another thing we could go for, but I think the upkeep might be more harmful to us at this stage. So we're just going to go with the Fire Drake pass and see how our opponent responds. And of course, we are going into turn 7, so this is pretty much the turn where you're going to start to see some of the bigger Awakened bodies come out. Things like the Dire Badger, things like the Shodan, which is now hitting the board here. That is going to eliminate our Fire Drake pretty easily. Thankfully, we do have the Freezing Pillar in hand. That is going to be a great way for us to just hold off this Shodan here. Kind of a dumb move though on my part, as you'll see. I go for the Lumberjack draw over the probably what it would have been okay if I just Fire Drake passed. Or Fire Drake Freezing Pillar, excuse me, and then pass. That maybe would have been a little bit better. But now I'm going to probably have to spend the Rat King here just to get an ideal freeze on the Shodan. I could use the Pillar behind the Shodan and freeze that way and maybe set up the Fire Drake for next turn, which, yeah, probably could work, but I think that does depend on what else he had in the hand to combat the Pillar. And obviously we don't have any Chain Lightning in the hand right now, so not really able to tell if we can grab something like the L-Blade or a Temple from our next draw. So we do go for the Rat King, the Freezing Pillar over here as well, just to kind of freeze off the Shodan for a turn here. See what else he's got for our units. They can become stronger thanks to the armory we pulled in the last turn, so that is going to be coming in handy. I hope so. And then it'll just be a matter of, how can we potentially just put more pressure on our opponent so that way the Awaken doesn't get an opportunity to breathe here, to let up, to start triggering things like, multiple Shodan procs, Headwood procs, etc. There is another Shodan from our opponent here. Nice to see him. And a Synchro Strike, which I thought was a fun little tech for the deck. It is able to reach the Freezing Pillar thanks to the positioning of all this here. And, we draw the Lightning Blade for turn. I mean, hindsight is, 2020, but, I probably could have positioned that a little bit better here with the Fire Drake in hand. We probably got a lot of value out of a Fire Drake L-Blade at this particular point if we did see it. But, I mean, I guess there are ways to play around it. Regardless, we do spend the Lightning Blade to try and equalize things a little bit here. I do realize that I unfortunately am just 1 gold short of the armory to make some necessary trades, with the smaller rats back here and put some pressure on my opponent. So we are going to opt to go ahead and just take out one of the 2 Shodans for now, the one that's already active, just to be safe here. Because, of course, the other one, in not the best position, if he does get multiple Awakens in this next turn, still not going to be able to reach or do significant damage this turn. And, of course, we continue to kind of push the smaller bodies here and then plop the Dragon to Search, just to keep our hand full, just to keep our options open as we proceed into the later stages of the game here. We do get to the point where I'm looking for maybe something like Rakannaroth to kind of close us out here. You'll notice the 2 Fire Drakes in hand. Those I want to kind of maybe get out as soon as possible for something like a big Raka value, hopefully. And yeah, we do end up seeing a Dire Badger from our opponent here. Rat gonna go ahead and die up there as well. And I think he had something else for the background. I think it was Salahar Soldier. If he starts to pop, I know he actually pops that one out a little bit slower than everything else. Yeah, there is Soldier. So Soldier takes out the Rat here. And again, if we had the Armory down, that would have been a much more valuable trade for us. But unfortunately, we just didn't have enough gold. We didn't math correctly. So we are going to fear the Dire Badger here, and do find the Rakannaroth off the top here, and that is going to be very crucial in, you know, just trying to close out this game as fast as we can here, hopefully wiping the rest of his board. I figured go ahead, play both Fire Drakes. We have enough gold for it. There's no point in playing something like an Armory this turn to make one stronger. Shodan strong enough to kill, you know, either or anyway. If there's another Synchro Strike in there, the Badger would be trading, so it's a little bit of a risky situation, but I have to just put the Fire Drakes down and hope for the best here. I'm hoping that the Raka will be enough to obliterate whatever board presence he'll establish, as well as be able to just end the game outright here. So that is what we want to see. We are going to take a little bit more of a thinker for this one, though. Towards the later stages of the game, our opponent does take a little bit more time to think about what he wants to do. But, I mean, in the meantime, I think we do have some, like I said, great options in hand for the follow-up, if something happens. We do see a Dancing Sword from our opponent here, so kind of, yeah, bringing together the idea that this was an Awakened deck. And then follows up with the Ethereal Panda, which is very, very unfortunate for us here. That was a very critical Panda for him. I don't know if he knew it or not, but basically that takes away our golden Raka opportunity here, which we could have sniped away nearly everything and just kind of put an exclamation point on this game. However, we don't really have that luxury now. We do have to kind of take another turn to reestablish the board here. And also, I'm not really sure where the Badger went, which, you know, not the best idea here. Unfortunately, I do go ahead and throw the Fire Drake way up front that I probably shouldn't have done. Again, forgetting the Badger was all the way in the back when he got stealth. So if he had that and, you know, couldn't move any additional spaces, then I think looking back, that positioning was pretty bad. We do follow up with the additional Fire Drake here. We're going to try and block the best that we can here and hope that maybe our opponent kind of second guesses things with the explosive. And then we're going to follow up with the Faithful Drake as well. Actually, do we? I'm pretty sure I do. I just have the hard time about where I want to place it. Again, not sure what the Badger is at this point, so I'm kind of nervous. Hindsight, knowing where the Badger is now, it's kind of dumb of me to kind of be hiding and putting that much thought into the Faithful Drake. But yeah, the Badger is at the bottom there, and here's where I thought that we could have potentially just lost the game right here. Just based on the way that he's got everything set up here. Badger could easily take out the Fire Drake here. Swords can land in a big shot. Or multi-strike swords into the Shodan. There's a lot of different ways that he can end the game here. Ninjas are very notorious for those kind of one-spell, big-move game-ender type situations here, and this is no different. Giving him the opportunity here could be very dangerous to us, but hopefully we can kind of call his bluff on that, I'm guessing here. And again, he is taking the extra time to just think about how he wants to do this because of the way that the explosive works here. He doesn't want to kind of commit to any, you know, rash decisions to which his board state could be drastically affected, i.e. Panda trades in front of the Fire Drake. That means Shodan dies. Obviously, at this level of play, I hope players don't make that mistake, but it can be a very easy thing to do with auto-pathing as a misclick. And you'll see time going to kick in again here. Badger connecting to the Fire Drake here. Demonic Rage on the Dancing Swords here, taking a big chunk. And the Kunoichi for follow-up. So didn't have the multi-strike, or else that probably would have been game right there alongside the Demon Rage. But it didn't. And here, I think we pull off our big game-ending move. Go for the Rakannaroth here. It clears away the majority of the board. We missed the Kunoichi because he didn't, I think, get to move it. And the Salahar Soldier has just refused to move from that back line for the last several turns. So that is how it's going to go here. I do put the Faithful Drake up again aggressively as well, knowing that he probably has to spend a lot of the resources in his line clearing out the Rakannaroth rather than the Faithful Drake. I was kind of confident. And also, it kind of helps me prevent any sort of weird, like, super lunging OTK stuff, which our opponent shouldn't be doing. He's only got one card in hand at this point. Not a whole lot that I think he can do from this position, as you can kind of guess. And yeah, Raka is just, I think, a big game closing exclamation point that we needed for the win here. I don't know if he commits to it, but I do know that I think he does surrender. Yep, there it is. So yeah, that means game number 1 is ours here, opening up this video here. Fantastic start for the deck, but we have more to get to. So folks, let's go ahead, jump into match number 2 and see what happens. Alright folks, and match number 2 up against the Viking Ninja. Not faction colors you see quite often, but hopefully here to give us a little bit more of a challenge. I probably shouldn't say that, that's kind of rude to the other player. Regardless, opening hand is looking a bit iffy here, as I'm... Oh boy, did I put on slow-mo or something? Yeah, I think I did. Okay, there it goes. Fantastic, and of course we sub out the Dragon Knight here, picking up the Temple. Not ideal, but the rest of our hand is looking okay. Things like the Dark Bender, Blue Firebolt, Ice Drake, pretty useful. Our opponent opens up with Lumberjack to start the game here. We're not really huge fans of that because we don't have anything to really respond except for the Ice Drake in the next turn. Thankfully, we pull the Lumberjack off. We'll get a nice little draw trade to start off our game strong. Love to see it. Right? Make the trade. Believe we do, right? There it is. Perfect. And we pull up another Ice Drake, which is fine. Not the best card in the world here, but hey, we'll take it. We'll throw out one of those Ice Drakes right now to kind of reestablish our board presence here. Our opponent did pass turn 2 with Medallion, mind you, in hand, so must mean his hand isn't looking too good. Hopefully he can fix that in this next turn if we do see the Magic Eater come down and a simple pass from him. Obviously, I could burn the Magic Eater here, but I do want to just go for the Armory play, which I do commit to, and then following with that, I pass. I'm hoping that whatever he has in hand maybe isn't enough to boost Eater to necessary levels to not trade with Ice Drake, and even so, if he has to commit to an attack against the Ice Drake with Eater, we have the Blue Firebolt to follow up whatever damage is left on it. Unfortunately for me, though, a Rat King was sitting in hand. So, of course, this is going to get some nice value on the board. Well, I say kind of value. He does put 4 out of the 5 rats into the Ice Drake here, which may not be ideal, but it is what it is here. And I opt to just go for, I believe, Dark Bender this turn, because, again, I'm hoping that maybe the Eater can get a little bit stronger. A couple of spells get wasted on it before the Blue Firebolt pops out and kills it here. We're only working with 5 gold here. We're starting to enter the mid game. Not a whole lot I think this Eater can get off of 5 gold here. That isn't going to exceed like 5 HP. We do see the metal, which got me a little concerned because I forgot about the metal. But the following Blacksmith means that, yeah, we're going to bolt this Eater this turn just because it might escape the threshold in that next turn. And we can follow with Ice Drake for the next as well. Blue Firebolt, yep, we're going to connect that right to the Eater. And then following that, we are going to go ahead and put the Dark Bender into the Rat. Now, I will admit this is a little risky for me to play the Dark Bender this aggressively, but I'm hoping that maybe because Rat King was just played, there shouldn't be anything else in hand that could lunge out to strike my Dark Bender. Hence why it goes a little bit up there. So that way in the next turn we can position it to where Ice Drake is currently, so we can get some better value off of maybe a, you know, trade with it, or kill with it I should say. I gotta keep, or I gotta knock off switching around the words trade and kill, because of course there is a big difference. Lich though, being a pain in my ass. Sets up quite well to eliminate both the Dark Bender and Ice Drake for this turn. I do pull Temple, which is pretty interesting. I do kind of consider what I do want to throw down here between the Fire Drake and the Temple. I opt for the Temple here just because Fire Drake L-Blade is something that could happen turn 8 rather than the Temple or, you know, Temple Lightning Blade, which is turn 9. So we do get the Temple out. It's also a bit more damage for the Ice Drake in case that Lich got bigger, so that's fine. Interesting trade here. He goes for the Lich to connect to the Dark Bender rather than committing 2 units into it. Horseman comes out as well for the follow-up. Not exactly, I believe, what he was going for with this play here. Whatchamacallit, the Spear Strike, that is. I don't think it worked out too well. We do pull the Dragon Knight, however, which is very nice to see. We do get the connection there from the Drake into the Lich. We do also get a nice little freeze on the Horseman as well. Not the one I wanted, but you know what? We'll take it. It does mean the chain is going to connect, kill off the Horseman and Lumberjack, which Kind of questioning why he put those two 1 health units to create that small chain value, but you know what? It is what it is. Maybe forgot that I had Temple in play, but regardless, we do have the opportunity now to get out the Fire Drake. Hopefully combine that with the Lightning Blade in the next turn to make some big things happen. However, here's where things get pretty bad for us. Of course, Rat King on turn 8. We do have quite an amount of gold left over on his side, so you know that means only one thing. Mystic Rats. Yep, there it is, folks. We do run into the Mystic Rat combo, which is a bit unfortunate for us here. These rats are pretty beefy to make some valuable trades here with our units, as you'll see. 1 rat going into the 1 Dragon Knight. We do get some Fire Drake value off of the explosive, but, I mean, you know, that's not exactly great. Most of our cards there were taken off board by the whole burst of Rat King Mystics, so do have to recover quite a bit here. We do pull the Rakannaroth, which is pretty valuable. Well, we pulled that last turn. We pulled the Green Drake this turn. Debating on whether or not I want to put the Green Drake out or the Rakannaroth, but I think, you know, Rakannaroth is just, you know, a little bit better here. We trade with the rat, we kill it off for free, and we prevent that second rat from coming in, doing any sort of chain damage shenanigans with the knockback tech he included in here. Mark of the Fist. Don't see that too often. Our opponent does go for a Temple of his own before setting up another Lumberjack and passing. Not great, but of course we can deal with it. We are going to go ahead, pop into the rat here, and then follow up with the, I believe, dual Green Drake setup here, just because we don't really have anything else of value. We could go for a Temple if we wanted to, but I figured if we were going to throw out the Green Drake, we might as well buff it with its friend as well, just create a bit more of a bigger body for him to deal with. Although opponent goes into a Rakannaroth of his own, that is going to kill our Rakannaroth off, make that trade very easily. We unfortunately don't have a lot of ways for us to interact with this Rakannaroth this turn. We do pull the Blacksmith, but I believe we're not. Well, I mean, no, we probably could have killed it with the L-Blade, but I was hoping the L-Blade would have been a bit more useful to us. So we're just going to set up some globals and pass, make it so that way our Green Drakes are going to be bigger, just big enough to trade with the Rakannaroth rather than the Rakannaroth killing. Let's, though, freezing off one of the 2 best targets here, both Green Drakes. Also includes a nice little tech here. Mark of the Fist into a second Temple here on the Rakannaroth. Going to push back my Green Drake to get a little bit of additional chain. It's a nice little way to create sort of a permanent Lightning Blade-esque ability for a unit here. Or at least one, or mini Yarm, I guess is a better way to describe it. We do have to burn off the Lich. We do thankfully get a Rakannaroth freeze, so of course our Blacksmith is able to make a much better connection with it, staying on the board at full health rather than, you know, just trading with it if it landed on things like Smith or that Lumberjack up there. Meanwhile, opponent goes in, gonna see the Blacksmith kill off the Lumberjack for turn into the Hassan City Guards as well. Energy Rush for, I believe, cycle purposes. Energy Rush is always a weird card to see. The Evasive is kind of cool, but if it's on a unit that's trading, kind of feels a bit wasted if you know it's going to die anyway. But I understand the cool purpose you can get out of it in this deck. Meanwhile, we do see one of those guards move in, trade a little bit with the Green Drake. Rat King for the follow-up. A couple less rats than I would imagine here, but rats nonetheless here. And then follows up with a Shadow Slip, which I thought was a pretty interesting choice here. So pretty much confirmed to me that this is more maybe of a bounce strategy than maybe a Mystic strategy that I initially thought of. We're not looking too good, though, for sure. We do have our Blacksmith here, and pulling the Raka and Faithful for turn is quite interesting, to say the least. We do opt to just go for a Faithful here and put it in front of our castle. I'm hoping that another Mystic isn't in hand. You know, Mystic L-Blade could have been very devastating at this point in the game, but the importance is I think we want to keep Faithful Drake alive to perform some kind of Raka sacrifice. I think he picked up on it. He goes for the Freezing Pillar, which is certainly annoying. We are not going to be able to really move that Faithful Drake, so I'm hoping that maybe we can pull something to kind of clean up a little bit better. Unfortunately, we pull a second Raka, so we end up committing to at least one of them, so that way we'd get to clear our the enemy board here to a degree. We clear off the guards, the Freezing Pillar, and the warrior that was thrown down. So the Raka here sitting pretty. It does have enough to, I think, deal lethal if we make it back around with the second Raka. He ends up doing the Banshee, I think potentially knowing that we might have had a second racket in hand. Unsure if that was, true, but we end up following with the second Raka. Does commit some big damage to his face, and is just enough to deliver a lethal blow. And with that, we walk away with game two, looking stronger and stronger, mind you. Honestly, deck's been working very nicely so far, but we still have more game to get to after all, so let's go ahead and jump to game number 3. And just like that, we roll into game number 3 now, up against the Crusader of Warlocks. So, of course, could be facing off against some burn here, which is okay. Ideally, our dragons are big enough to tank a lot of burns coming out of these decks nowadays, but still annoying nonetheless, so hopefully we can, of course, power through it. It's going to be a bit of a slower start here. No one's got a turn 1 play. We do see turn 2, though. Question Net, of course, following up, which is interesting. You don't usually see Questing Knight in the main deck all too often unless the focus is Knights, which I kind of started thinking of immediately once I saw that get played. Of course, the Knight does connect to our Lumberjack here, which I thought was fine. We can, of course, adapt to this here. Do see the Flying Books, though, unfortunately, so that, of course, is not so great. We do end up going for the Dragon Knight coin here just to kind of get some better value in the trading process here. You'll see Dragon Knight come out here to defend the books, as well as the Drake kind of clearing off the Question Knight while also remaining alive as a body. We are going to probably see the books trade into the Dragon Knight here, but hopefully it doesn't have things like Blaze, which of course the fears alleviate once we see that Inspire get played. We do see the Question Knight Part 2 come out, following up with the books as well, getting a little bit aggressive here. But I figured this was fine. We can, of course, make a better opportunity here for ourselves. We do follow with the Blacksmith, as well as the Lumberjack, I believe here. We make the Faithful Drake connection into the Questing Knight Lumberjack for books. We pick up a card, and we pass back, as well as placing Blacksmith a little aggressively just to maybe potentially block some incoming damage here. You never know. Meanwhile, though, our opponent does have some options. Think still has some things from the Inspire he could use, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he goes for the Berserker here, which I think fell off the Inspire, so not exactly great. We don't have another Blacksmith. We could go for a Temple trade here, establishing Temple of the Five Gods, connecting with Blacksmith, making a trade there. But I don't really have much reason to do so while I can get the Dragon Knight out, and create some bigger bodies here, while also fearing the Berserker, because of course we want to cycle through our deck here, get through some things here. We do pick up a Raka, which is cool. We do have the combo of Roth into Raka. Always a great thing to see here for the deck. Hopefully we'll see that combo in action, or at least I hope. I don't remember if I was able to pull it off. Don't judge me. But anyway, our opponent, noticing the Blacksmith as a pretty valuable target here, pops it with the Blue Firebolt and moves in Berserker to try and take another chunk out of my my units here. Also following up with a Blacksmith of his own here to create some interesting damage. Now, honestly, this is going to be painful. This is a bit of a misplay on my part. I kind of moved my Dragon Knight down without thinking and popping the Temple, so forcing me to make the Faithful Drake trade into the Berserker, whereas I could have gotten more value if I smacked in the Dragon Knight with the Temple down behind and all that fun stuff. So yeah, a bit unfortunate in terms of placement, but I don't think it really impacts the game too heavily. As you'll see here, we end up going for, I believe, the Arcane Mystic play here. It is available, and we do see Snipers, so of course we just got to summon the boys here. We got to summon the Brigade. Rats hit the board here. We are going to clear off the Sniper, taking some damage. Yep, going to go ahead and do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Rats taking some additional damage here, bringing the total to 14. And, of course, maneuvering some other units here just to kind of, be a bit more aggressive here. I do hold the Faithful in hand, just in case of things like Dragon's Fire or Flamestorm, where those burns get a lot of value at this particular board state. And we do want to have some kind of follow-up and maybe even a Raka target for the deck to function. So, hence why we are going to keep the Drake in hand for now. We do see the Keeper of the Doorway, though, following up as well. He does pull a Banshee, which I think he plays a bit incorrectly here. As you'll see in a minute, he is going to go for the Banshee, which connects into that bottom ramp, but of course creates another chain damage for himself, which is not exactly great. Unfortunately for us, though, we do not pull the second L-Blade or any sort of global to support an endgame push here, but with all the damage on board, I figured it's too good to pass up. We are going to go ahead and take it. Both rats going in. The Dragon Knight going to consider a little bit what to do here, but I think we do ultimately go for the L-Blade commitment. And then following that up, we, of course, create some more trades as well. See, Dragon Knight going to go in, take a huge chunk. We are just 1 damage off of lethal, unfortunately, which, you know, given the board state as it is right now, I think we have a pretty good shot at making it, as you'll see. Kind of calculating what I want to throw out. I go for the Faithful Drake because it has more health. If something like, you know, Dragon's Fire comes down, it's not going to kill it. You have to spend more to kind of, you know, block or protect efficiently over the Ice Drake, which gets popped easy with Dragon's Fire. Although our opponent not down and out yet, he has the Hands of the Saint. Is going to heal the castle for quite a bit of damage, though. But the Demonic Rage kind of tells me that he isn't really got much going on in that hand of his, as you'll see here. Lumberjack going to go ahead and make some trades as well. Yep, and all that stuff. Unfortunately, we are just 1 turn away from Raka from ending the game. We can follow up with Rakannaroth here if we want to, but because there's nothing really on the board that's worth freezing, it's just my own units. We don't want to freeze off our own units and give him the opportunity to make some better trades here to kind of clean up on his side. So we are just going to push an Ice Drake down middle. Hope that this stays alive through maybe something like Flamestorm or something like that, and then just have enough to rack in the next turn. Although our opponent doesn't really let us get the opportunity to do that, he of course sees the writing on the wall, scoops up the game, and we move into game number 5. Another fantastic game, another fantastic showing from the Rakannaroth deck. So let's go ahead and see how it does in game number 4. Alright, as we move into game number 4, you'll notice that's a rematch in a special kind of way here. Our opponent from game number 1 came back for round 2, rocking the same colors, looking to run back that same game. So, we'll hopefully see if we can pull off the win here, as we're going to cycle away some cards that I don't think we need. We don't need the second L-Blade or Mystic Journey. We don't really have a Rat King or any other initiative unit to benefit from that at the moment. So we'll go with Lumberjack, L-Blade, unfortunately picking up the Temple, but also the Fear. Not a bad starting hand, but definitely a bit rougher than I would like it to be. We'll open up with Lumberjack here to meet his Salahar Soldier. That is going to be fine here. We're not really getting that aggressive start that I think we wanted to against this deck, but we'll see how it goes. Masuda coming out now, so hitting his Awakened Curve. Lovely, lovely. Opting to hold back as well, not looking to give me the draw off of Lumberjack and be aggressive. I guess that makes sense because you want your units to stay alive to get where you can benefit more off of the Awakened triggers from things like Saurus and get more cards from Dojo. It makes sense why you hold it back, but we are going to go ahead and be a little more aggressive, though, on our side. We are going to follow up with the Rat King for turn 2. I believe I coined out this. Yeah, I coined this out. A little aggressive, I know, but I'm hoping that maybe we can just get some value by being just, you know, hard-hitting, aggressive. Kind of make sure the Awakened deck doesn't actually have a chance to set up anything. What do you know? He follows up with the another trap here. Now, judging by game 1, I think we know what that trap is, but still, okay, another trap going down. Not exactly, you know, worthwhile to see on my end. I'm not very happy, but it is what it is here. We'll see if we can follow up. He is debating on whether or not he wants to make trades here. Things like the Salahar Soldier into maybe Lumberjack, Masuda into Rat. You know, there are some things he can debate here. Opts to put Soldier into the bottom Rat, which is interesting. I guess he wants to make that aggressive, which kind of tells me that, you know, perhaps it is going to be another Secret Dragon at the time. We're not sure what the trap could be, but getting a good idea. I believe it's Secret Dragon, and you'll see it is in just a moment here. But he opts to kind of figure out where he wants to go with trading here. As you'll see, he puts Masuda into the top right as well. Soldier coming out from the discount of Masuda, popping our Lumberjack, which is not great, but it is what it is here. And we do have some options for this turn. You'll see trap card going down. It is going to be the Secret Dragon, as you mentioned, and again, the worst of the 2 options hits the board. It's Fire Drake makes an appearance. Now, actually, not 2 options. There's like a bunch of dragon options. Regardless, not great. We don't really want to see Fire Drake because, of course, it doesn't do well with our Rat package, and you'll see we'll just have to fear it back for now. We don't have the resources in hand to take care of that. We do make the Salahar Soldier trade with the Rat King just because I want to control this game a little bit better. I notice he's already kind of depleting his resources fairly early. So if we can just keep him off of card, that's going to be great for us and hopefully win us the game just by sheer resource advantage alone. But we'll see. He follows up with the Dancing Swords here. Connects to, I think, our Rat King that was there. I don't remember if it's the Rat King. But yes, he does give us the 4 gold for turn, which you do, thankfully, pull the Lumberjack to pull off a sneaky little freezing pillar for a turn. You love to see it. Of course, this keeps the swords in play. Same with the Fire Drake here. Now, unfortunately, the L-Blade doesn't get as much value as we want it to. Ideally, we could pop into the Fire Drake, connect and kill that, as well as dealing 3 chain damage, but you'll notice that the Fire Drake is just 1 point higher, and we do not have Temple established, which I believe we can't really get down in time to make it worthwhile, so we are going to go ahead and have to figure out a way to deal with that. Masuda coming in, connects to the Freezing Pillar, taking off the board here, ideally keeping away from the proper chain position, which is lovely to see. And, yeah, in a bit of a dilemma here, but we're not totally out of it yet. The L-Blade is going to be, I think, what I devote the play to, just because it's Lightning Blade. We can get a huge shot on damage. We can huge damage on Castle and chain to kill a Dancing Sword, which, of course, is great to see. We know he's got Demonic Rage hiding in the deck, so if we take out that Dancing Sword before it grows just a little bit bigger, I think that's going to be beneficial for us. And, of course, I do hover over Temple. I was kind of tabbed out for a second as the game was happening, so we'll have to read Temple of the 5 Gods for a little bit. Thankfully, I don't think it gets in the way of any additional plays from him. Yep, it is a building. It can be played next to other units, but cannot move. It can deal extra damage that links to nearby enemies. It's a building. And then, yeah, of course, I come back, tab off of it, and, you know, continue on here. Now, we do have the blue Firebolt to pop the Fire Drake, which I think is going to be helpful to us. He has to make some kind of trade, though, into the Lumberjack. I expected him to go Fire Drake into Lumberjack, because it just doesn't, you know, die. Sure, it's not optimal positioning for the Fire Drake, but at least you keep it alive alongside your Masuda and your Blacksmith, which is important here. You'll see why I'm mentioning this in just a moment. As again, our opponent here is a bit of a thinker here. He's got to commit to what he wants to do here, kind of think and take his time. Now, actually, I feel like looking at this, I feel like this might have been the old purple-red OTK build that went around, just seeing some elements of the deck come together. I could be wrong. I know we did see him play Dojo earlier, but food for thought. He follows up with another Dancing Swords, though, which is not great for us. We hate to see it. I kind of debate on whether or not I want to commit to a Dragon Knight this turn, which I do, as well as fearing back the Fire Drake, just to kind of push it off for another turn or so. Maybe we can do something like Green Drake in the following turn, or commit to another Dragon Knight plus Blue Fire in turn 7. Although I believe I was just nervous about movement spells in Ninja. Things like Synchro Strike could have been deadly here. You got Fear Cycle, though. Dragon Knight getting pushed all the way back here. Blue Firebolt onto our Faithful Drake as well. Trying to, I guess, control our side of the board as well the best he can so we can have room to commit to a clear OTK. But we kind of see what he's trying to go for here. Thankfully, we pulled the second Blue Firebolt, which is an interesting pull for the top. We do commit to the second Dragon Knight, though, just to get some more bodies out on the board here. We do want to have at least some presence before we start additionally bolting other targets here. We have done very good control in this game so far. We don't want to lose it by just not playing additional bodies here. I think the only concern here, again, movement speed gets a little dangerous if he has anything like that built in or into hand at this point. And I forget what else I was worried about. I think something. Anyway, Mordok comes out. Mordok, quite a big boy here. This is going to make quite an impact on the game. Of course, not a whole lot I can do in hand at the moment to directly deal with it. But we do have Green Drake, and I think Green Drake is going to be a bit of a saving grace for us here. We can kind of position this to interact with the Mordok, so he's forced to make a trade, or he's forced to get his Mordok killed if he wants the body, rather than just, you know, putting it in anywhere. And of course we do follow up with, I believe, a second Faithful Drake, just to kind of ensure that our Green Drake stays healthy and alive on the board here. We don't want, you know, Blue Fireball hitting one of the Drakes and then Green Drake losing power. Not great. It'd mean that Mordok can get better trades and and do all kinds of dumb stuff. So we want to ensure the second Drake is out on board here to just, survive through whatever our opponent has in terms of burn or damage to deal with said Drakes. And, yeah, we're looking for the green Drake to make a trade into the Mordok, or kill off from the Mordok, so that way he only gets at most 1 unit from it, and hopefully we'll be able to control it from there with something like Rakannaroth, or hell, maybe even bolt that one. I don't entirely remember how this goes, but again, opponent is contemplating his move here. Again, bit of a thinker, but no worries. I know it's very scary seeing multiple flying Drakes. They can do some big damage. But, yeah, I mean, realistically, all he needs to do is just, like, deliver Synchro Strike or some movement spell, Demonic Rage, or, that's big damage. That is big damage. Our opponent commits to the line here, which, not a good idea for him. We do have the Rakannaroth in hand, which at first I wasn't thinking of committing to, but then I believe we follow up with the Rakannaroth just because I believe it's too good here. We create that nice little freeze chain value for us with the L-Blade later down the line. And we potentially threaten lethal here if I can do my math correctly. Which, spoiler alert, I don't think I do. I think we're off again by, like, 1. Even with, like, L-Blade Smith and L-Blade Temple, we don't have the opportunity to commit to it. Which is a shame, but it is what it is here. Panda coming back out. Panda was crucial for him last time. Unfortunately, not as lucky for him this time around. I think he wanted to do a Yenna bounce, but... thankfully, we do dodge that by just a bit here. And this, of course, is going to mean that Rakannaroth comes in to deliver some big L-Blade damage. Blacksmith going down, L-Blade going down, and you'll notice I am, I think, just like, a few points shy. Yeah, I am, again, 1 point off. I debate here whether or not to kind of connect to the swords of all things here. I think I was more for debating on whether or not I kill the Mordok. But you know what? I don't do it. I commit to the huge Rakannaroth swing. I notice the turn count is lower anyway, and we should have enough resources in hand to control whatever else he throws at us in this game. Thankfully, Rakannaroth is alive through this board right now. Panda and Swords is not enough on their own to kill off the Rakannaroth here. We do see Secret Technique on the Panda now. Hopefully getting a spell for him. Shadow Dance, unfortunately, not going to be enough to do it. Hopefully that last card in hand is something valuable enough to deliver that 1 point of damage needed to kill off our Rakannaroth here. Which I believe he isn't able to do, right? I don't think he is. Again, contemplating thinker here. I don't think he does, right? I'd be, guilty here. Yeah, he does surrender. I'm just gonna scroll up a little bit because nothing else happens. I think he does some more math in his head, you'll notice. And there's the surrender right there. Boom. No point in waiting those extra few seconds for runtime. We do have another game to get to after all, so hopefully that should fill in whatever remaining runtime we have of the video. So, with that being said, folks, game number 5. We are currently 4-0 in this month's placement. Can we make it the special 5-0? Only one way to find out. Let's go ahead and jump into match number 5. Alright, and folks, match number 5 to conclude our placement here. This, of course, is for the big 5-0 for the deck here, and a certainly an increase, I think, if we are managing to win here. But regardless here, we're going to open up here. Not too bad. We do see things like Faithful Drake, the Blue Fire, the Dragon Knight, or Fire Drake here. So we have options. We certainly have options. And our opponent opens up with a simple Lumberjack to start. We're going to run the Faithful Drake in to intercept that bad boy. And notice how it's a bit of a mirror matchup going on. We do run into another Viking Warlock deck. So certainly could see some similar ideas coming out from both sides. But we'll have to see here as another Lumberjack going into, of course, make a block here. Unfortunately, we don't have a valuable turn 3 play to make. We do have to unfortunately pass. No point in Blue Fire bolting the Lumberjack just for the 2 damage. So we are just going to simply pass on this. And hopefully that... we don't see anything super heavy in the following turn, which, Lich, not really the super heavy turn I think he was hoping for, so we are going to try and, I think, set up Darkbender for this turn, just to, of course, get it on the board, see where it gets us type of thing here. Hopefully that we don't see a lot of burn from our opponent to kill it off. Our opponent does go into the Temple for turn, which, certainly fine, nothing wrong with that. We do get the Rat King. I almost said Mystic Rat here. We don't get Mystic yet. We do end up just simply Fire Draking here, just because we don't really have much else to commit to. And we are just simply passing on that, which of course is fine. We love to see Fire Drake do some funny lightning, hopefully explosive stuff. Explosive, hopefully lightning. That's the proper way to say it. But anyway, Freezing Pillar. Yay. Sucks, but we see it. Now, this one's a bit of a thinker. We do have quite the ways to actually remove the pillar, but the problem is I don't think I get to really protect my Dark Bender here. I could have bolted the Lich to freeze off his Hassan City guards and then give myself an extra maybe turn or so to deal with the freezing pillar. But I also think that if I just free my units now, it's more effective here. But I also be mindful of the chain setup that I'm creating here. I do pull the green Drake, I think I do commit to here, just because I figured it's a big body. Hopefully you can't really hit over it. We do defend our Dark Bender. Hopefully there isn't something like an L-Blade or other shenanigans hidden in the deck that are going to be able to clear off the board here. And you still have the Fire Drake Mine you to deal with as well. So hopefully we can sneak this in and get some damage done and whatnot here. It does commit to a couple of attacks here, as you'll see. Just under one attack to kill off the Dark Bender. Unfortunately, has the L-Blade, which he does commit to. Not before I think he attacks with Hassan City Guards first, just to ensure that his Lich, doesn't freeze anything on his side of the board, right? Yep, and there it goes. And that was pretty brutal. We do lose our big Drake, but hey, we do get the Fire Drake shot on Castle. Unfortunately, no L-Blade to make it more worthwhile, but I think we do end up following up with just another Fire Drake, because why not? Into the Faithful Drake as well, just to get some more bodies out on the board. Hopefully pull some things like L-Blade or Globals to make these Drakes just a little bit more better to contend with what our opponent is doing on the other side of the board. He does pull out Vampire for turn, which at this point, noticing that, okay, could be a bit more of an undead focused strategy here with things like the Vampire, because obviously you don't really see him too often. Thankfully, we do have the blue Fireball to this, which I figure is a good time to commit to, something here. And of course, the Vampire, a bit annoying, and if left unchecked, could get a little bit dangerous as the game goes on. So we are going to simply bop that away. Following up with the Dragon Knight as well, just to get us some more bodies on board. Assert that board presence, if you will. Although running into Mordok, which isn't ideal. And of course, he pulls a Banshee, so the Drake dies off of the combined chain of the Banshee. All that fun stuff, and of course, a simple pass back, which again, not ideal, but we do pull Rakannaroth for turn, which I thought was very, very cool. Of course, Faithful Drake is going to get thrown up here into a position where I'm hopefully going to be able to rack it in the next turn, barring another Mordok hits the board and creates some not so fun stuff for me. Unfortunately, though, Keeper comes out. Keeper connecting onto the board here. It does hit into my Dragon Knight. He does generate the Horseman, which of course he can play, but the damage isn't really super critical here at this point. And of course he does pull the Winds of the North, which is probably the saving play of the game, to be honest here, because of course in this position we do not have the ideal Raka space to commit to any sort of big value. Even things like the L-Blade here, we just can't commit to the Raka we want to. But because of the position that we're in and given our hand size, we do have to commit to a Raka. We are just missing that explosive damage though on the board. We do get 4 damage on face, so of course you can move the Rakannaroth and still do all that fun stuff. But unfortunately, we do miss the explosive burn, which can be very critical, especially if you get down to sudden death here, and may get down to the single-digit numbers in the castle health. But yeah, we do commit to a Rakannaroth here. I'm hoping in my mind that the Mystic Journey can come out soon to help out our Rat King, so that way we can do a cheeky little Rat King Mystic to face with L-Blade, and hopefully that could be enough to maybe sneak away with the game. But of course, we have to see if we draw Mystic Journey first, and he does have some follow play here. The White Knight plus Horseman combination, able to cleanly take down the Rakannaroth with some tag team action. And unfortunately, we're not really pulling our star player here. That being the Mystic Journey. We do have to throw the Lumberjack out. I do want a body block. Hopefully get some draw for that, but end up following up with the Rat King here as well, just because I want to get this out. If the Mystic Journey does come into hand, that way the Rat King is already on board. It already has a launching platform and can potentially get even more rats to his face faster, which is the goal. He is, at only 10, so halfway there, folks. Commits to an armory play, though, in a bit of an interesting spot. Follows up with the freezing pillar for turn. And this play kind of hurts in a way. We do end up losing some things here. Grotesque Offering on the Lumberjack, but that was an interesting commitment. He did kind of overpower our Lumberjack, so we could have kept the body advantage, but hey, cards are cards. The upkeep, though, hurting us from the Rat King. We don't have enough to play the combined Temple and the Lightning Blade here. Just one short of committing that extra value to the board, which is painful. But, you know, we are struggling on life support in terms of cards, but we're hoping that we can push through the remainder of whatever he has in hand. Hopefully that his resources are just maybe not up to par. We can maybe sneak in with our smaller bodies, force some additional damage. Keeper, though, making a strong appearance. Not exactly great for us to see this bad boy. Guards follow up as well. Unholy Altar, which is fine. Not really doing too much in this, but still proving a nuisance here. And looking for that Mystic still, we do not find it. Not great for us. Not great. Now, I believe... How do we do this? I believe we tried to go, like, Rat into the Guard. We tried to get Lumberjack draw as well to see if we may pull out the Mystic from our ass. I know I was trying to do something here to try and, you know, just control this a little bit here. Here, I mean, this is where his hand advantage started to shine through here. He's got 3 buildings to my none. You know, Keeper, Guards, certainly a lot of units going around this board here, and they're not ideal. I do have to give him a Keeper draw here. Picks up the Wraith, which is not great. And we do pick up Rakannaroth as well. A game ender for sure, but not the one that we were looking for, unfortunately. And we do end up committing the Rat King to face here. We do want to try and just block the best we can here. And I can't at this point rely on Mystic Journey to pull into my hand here. So we do have to set up what we do have, which is, you know, the Rakannaroth. Now, because of the way he's positioned the Keeper, if I can't really... I'm nervous about committing here. I tried to play the Ice Drake as well, and I just didn't have enough time. But I was nervous committing the Faithful Drake to a certain spot because of that Keeper. It has enough damage to just kill my Drake outright, and I can't get Rakannaroth value if I'm, you know, dead. He's got something more devious in mind. I'm going to go the Cloak of Ice route, freezing off my remaining units here, following up with the Grotesque Offering as well, following up. Yep. And, of course, Wraith comes out in front. Now, honestly, at this point, I'm worried that I think he just has a game ender in hand. My Rat King is frozen. I can't commit to anything. I do draw a Freezing Pillar, which is cool. And, actually, in hindsight, I probably could have been benefited from that. But at this point, I was very nervous. I didn't really understand what I wanted to do here. I wanted to protect the Ice Drake because I was hoping that it was going to be my only target for Rakannaroth. So I was trying to hide this while also setting up the pillar. Again, hindsight, not the best idea, because at this point I'm opening up to a couple of things here. Like I said, a Rakannaroth of his own, an L-Blade, things like that. And of course, we do end up, you know, kind of going the more defensive route, if you can call it that, opting to put Freezing Pillar in front here. Creates the chain, I know, but I was hoping that, you know, a game ender wasn't in hand. I was hoping the Rakan would just take his 4 and leave me alone. We are getting close to ending said game, so if I could have got this Ice Drake to face, it would have been able, you know, it would have been it. But as you'll see here, unfortunately not. The Wraith commits to an attack here, and he does follow up with the Rakannaroth of his own. A bit unfortunate. We were just a turn too slow here in the Raka race, but it is what it is. He played his freeze well, and unfortunately we just couldn't find our game enders that we needed to. I believe we actually did draw Mystic Journey in him. Did we pull Mystic for... No, we didn't. I thought we did. Anyway, yeah, so we end up at the 4-1 ranking for October. I will quickly show you guys the final rank of the deck, because I forgot to catch it on camera, so let's go ahead and show you that right now. Right, and coming back here, we do get a final ranking for the deck of 3376. Now, admittedly, we were a little bit higher earlier in the day. I believe our closest was like 3397. I tried to push it into the 3400s, Unfortunately, we were knocked down. I wasn't recording the game at the time here. We did bounce back to a solid 33-76 off of the loss here. I believe we lost 70 stars in the matchup and then faced another opponent here. And then from 20, we bounced up to 70, so taking 50 stars. So at that point, I didn't want to take any more risks with the deck. I said, you know what? Screw it. We're going to leave the deck for now and just hope that maybe we can push into 34 next season, because this is still quite a strong deck list. Not a lot of decks are prepared for the combination of, the rats plus the Rakannaroth. Valuable things in here like the Rakannaroth for freeze, the dragons just kind of providing big bodies to tank through burns. There's a lot of good stuff going on in the deck, and certainly one that I think people should try out if they want something a little bit new in their lives. But that is just me, of course. Hopefully, if you were convinced by the games are enough to show you that there is hope and potential in this list. But yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and close this video out. Excuse me, I almost said game. Let's close out this video here properly to send you off. Right, and with that being said, folks, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of Ranked. Let me know what you guys thought of today's matches by leaving your thoughts down in the comment section below, as well as being sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, share with your friends, of course, subscribe if you're new or haven't done so already to the channel. The best way you can show your support here, after all, is by subscribing and helping us grow. We are on the road to 1K. I believe at the time of recording, just around under 60 or so subs from reaching our goal. So it'd be really cool if you guys, join along in this journey here. I appreciate the support. And yeah, with that being said, that's going to do it for me for now. So until next time, guys, stay gaming.